and a very warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for watching Smart24 TV, where we drive your business. My name is Anthony Sebali. Now, you are watching the #1 business channel in the East African land, and this is Smart24, and we call ourselves the drivers of business here in East Africa, because we have dedicated time, we have dedicated resources to business in East Africa. Being a developing region full of potential, worldwide we are admired for being entrepreneurial, and therefore we dedicated our time and resources to business in East Africa, and we are trying to keep at the top of that game. And of course, we cannot do this without you. So thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more of that business content, for more of that business that's happening in your area. We are coming, and of course, to drive your business. Now, of course, the show is proudly brought to you by Altex East Africa, your #1 private stock exchange in East Africa. Now, private stock exchange, of course, regarding to the only one so far currently that we have on the East African continent, or rather region, and this is, of course, licensed by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda, and they can now bring you treasury bonds to your table through your phone. You can dial *292#, and following the prompts, you will be able to open an account, and you will be able to start trading online. You will definitely also get to access the market and be able to buy or sell treasury bonds across East Africa at the best interest rates in the land that you will find nowhere. At Altex, we say, do something new, and we are open every weekday, Monday to Friday, from 15 minutes past 8 a.m. and to 15 minutes past 3 p.m. East African Standard Time, and that's Altex East Africa Markets for you. Now, today, of course, being a Thursday, we are going to analyze and look at the Wednesday markets trading, and of course, getting to look at the Thursday, the day ahead. It's a morning, and of course, trading is happening. But did you know what happened yesterday on the Uganda Securities Exchange, on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and the like? I'm here to give you that and more on this show. Just stay tuned. You can follow us on Twitter, remember, at Smart24 TV. And my personal handle is at Anthony Sebale, where you can find all the latest content on financial markets globally, regionally, as well as what's trending in the markets at the moment. You can follow me as well on Twitter. There you will definitely get more of that content. Now let's get to look at the Uganda Securities Exchange here, and looking at the third day of trading in particular. Now, things were not so good on the Uganda Securities Exchange after very big gains yesterday on the cross listings. Well, the cross listings came back down again, and it was unfortunately with almost the same volume with which they moved upwards. And this is always the risk with investing in the cross listings. You just don't know where their stock is headed, and I think we are in need, the urgent need of a unified East African market, because what is the essence of, for example, having a cross listing on a Uganda Stock Exchange that's listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, doing way better, performing way better with very active stocks there, and then here there's nothing happening apart from fluctuation in prices? What's the point? So there was a big challenge yesterday on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with the exchange plummeting over 273.31 points. Now, that was a huge loss, but that was as pretty much close to what was gained on Monday. On Monday, if you remember, we gained about 270 points, and these were also from mainly cross listings. Well, that was reversed, unfortunately, to the disadvantage of the cross-listed stocks on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Nation Media Group lost most value, with over 26.38% lost in value, down to 478.08 Ugandan shillings per share. Now, Nation Media Group lost most compared to the rest of the 6 cross listings that lost on the Uganda Securities Exchange. KCB Group as well lost over 25.51%, down to 1,000 166.81 Ugandan shillings. And Equity Bank Limited lost over 25.31%, down to 1,359.54 points. The Kenya Airways company as well lost over 25.23%, down to over 114.44 Ugandan shillings. And the Jubilee Holdings Limited company lost over 25.23%, down to 5,976.00. East African Breweries Limited lost over 25.12% as well, down to 5,199.12. All these are cross listings, and it's pretty unfortunately, that we are losing mostly on these cross listings. But remember, yesterday they had big gains, and as I mentioned before, most of these movements are not due to demand and supply. And true, it was yesterday as we witnessed this trading go down on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with none of these actually trading a single share, unfortunately. And that's the sad news here, that I think we can address this if we unify and become one stock exchange. We become the East African Stock Exchange, where it's a one-stop center for all your capital markets needs, for all the companies that you want to invest in. That will cut out costs like the trading costs, the transaction fees, and so many others that we have to pay right now. If I told you to invest in Kenya, for example, there are costs that you have to forego. There are costs that you actually have to foot and be able to invest in these markets. Yet, it's very important for our markets diversification. If you're a trader out there in Uganda, you must have some stock in Kenya if you are to spread out risk. And you cannot do this sometimes because of the hindrances of the boundaries, the market fees, and so many others that actually do hinder you from investing across the board in the Uganda or Nairobi Securities Exchange, wherever you're coming from. Now, NIC, National Insurance Corporation, also had about 100,000 shares that were traded at exactly 5.0 Ugandan shillings closing price, and it was the second biggest mover on the market. Now, MTN Uganda traded the biggest volume. Unfortunately, this one ended with a slight loss of 0.01 points, and or rather Ugandan shillings, down to 180.00 Ugandan shillings. MTN Uganda traded at about 4,781,000 shares. 4,780,000 shares. A pretty big volume there for a company that hasn't been trading this much most recently, especially during the festive season, where we had quite a small trading and mixed reactions, of course, coming in after Airtel as well failing to get listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. MTN Uganda currently is the third most valuable company in the Uganda Securities Exchange, with a total market capitalization of 4.03 trillion Ugandan shillings. This makes about 19.1% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equities market. Now, looking at the volumes here, they traded over 4.78 million shares. These ended up with a value of over 861 million Ugandan shillings that was traded on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Shares outstanding currently at the company stand at over 22.4 billion Ugandan shillings, and a market capitalization of 4.03 trillion currently being counted on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Well, talking about the history of MTN has been able to give out dividends in the last 1 year. That is after their release of the first financial year results. That's in the year 2022. They were able to release a few of course what the shares represented there, because the company had just listed in 2021, and a lot of investors in the company were actually new on the stock exchange. They didn't know what to expect, and some people expected really huge dividends, and some people expected probably weekly gains or something like that, and that's not really how it works. But the company was able to issue a dividend of 4.7 shillings per share last year. Hopefully this year things work out better. The telecommunications industry continues to grow in Uganda, and so is MTN. MTN currently being the biggest telecommunications company. Incidents there in 2022 also of Airtel failing to list were quite a disappointment for a company that of course expects to have some competition. Competition sometimes is healthy in as far as growth is concerned. So there was a little bit more to be expected last year that wasn't actually met due to the failure of Airtel Uganda to list. Currently in the laws of Uganda, under the Uganda Communications Commission, a telecommunications company is required to list at least 20% of their stock on the Uganda Stock Exchange. That's according to the UCC Act Amendment 2022. So that's of course one of the things that stood out for the year 2022 and the telecommunications industry in Uganda. Now, MTN Uganda in terms of trading is the third most traded on stock in the last 3 months, from the 11th of October to the 11th of January yesterday. MTN within this period has traded a total of over 21.2 million shares valued at 3.83 billion over the period, with an average of 336,922 traded shares per session, a volume high of over 9.89 million shares that was achieved on the 3rd of January within the same period of 2022. This company, after this trade of 4.7, they have they had about 1.2 million shares on the 9th of January, and about 77,000 on the 10th of January, and on the 6th of January they had about 300 shares and about 7,144 shares on the 5th of January 2023, which is one of some of the most active on the Uganda Securities Exchange, despite of course the small tradings that we've had on the exchange. That's of course MTN Uganda for you there, coming among us the top movers on the market. National Insurance Corporation followed suit, and this is a company of course that has been also quite silent a little bit from the trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange. According to data from the exchange, currently the company has about 7.08 billion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization, and this makes the company the 17th most valuable on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with about 0.034% of the entire equity market there on the Uganda Securities Exchange. National Insurance Corporation closed the last day of trading at 5.0 Ugandan shillings per share. There was no gain or loss on the company's trading. The day ended with 100,000 shares traded at exactly 500,000 Ugandan shillings. Shares outstanding currently are at 1.42 billion shares, and market capitalization of over 7.08 billion Ugandan shillings is currently also being counted. Now, National Insurance Corporation closed its last day of trading at 5.0 Ugandan shillings per share on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Currently, it is the 5th most traded on stock in the past 3 months, from the 15th of August to the 11th of January within the period of 2023. NIC has traded a total volume of over 3.28 million shares valued at 16.7 million Ugandan shillings over the period, and about 51,996 shares per trading session. A volume high of about 1.06 million shares was achieved on the 29th of December 2022, and this has been the highest volume so far in this period. However, remember last year, National Insurance Corporation was not able to issue dividends. If you are a shareholder there, you did not receive any dividends, but they did issue a bonus issue. What a bonus issue is basically extra shares at no cost to all shareholders. So, for example, if the company decides, okay, this year we want to reinvest our profit, so we don't want to issue dividends, they can, in actual sense, get that stock, or rather get that profit and reinvest it into the stock, rather the company, but then get the other money that would have been used probably to invest, maybe to give out as dividends, and they do issue bonus shares for their shareholders. So in the next year, if they make another profit, for shareholders who would probably get smaller dividends, they would get more dividends, because then they would be having more shares. So if they say we are adding you 2 extra shares for every single share you have, that definitely means you're going to actually get more shares there and get more dividends when it comes to the time of issuing dividends. And that's exactly what National Insurance Corporation did last year at the Uganda Securities Exchange after releasing their results. Wumeme Limited was another gainer on the company, or rather a top mover on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with a closing price of 280.0 Ugandan shillings. Wumeme is listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange since the 30th of November 2012. Now, currently, the company trades as the 8th most valuable on the Uganda Stock Exchange, with a total of over 455 billion Ugandan shillings, which makes about 2.16% or so of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market. Currently, the company has traded over 5,000 shares, and this represents about 1.4 million Ugandan shillings that was traded on the market yesterday. Now, Wumeme currently is on a journey to exit Uganda, and if you're a shareholder there, you must have received that notice that was issued by the company in December, that their concession agreement, or the concession period for their agreement with the government of Uganda, will be expiring in March, on the 30th of March 2025. Well, about 2 years from now. So right now what you're seeing on the exchange is the effect of that statement. What does that statement mean? Of course, shareholders have to be compensated, and many people are seeing this as going to be an opportunity for them to get into the company so they can be able to partake some of the assets that are going to be liquidated when the company actually gets to exit Uganda. So that's why we suspect that the price of Wumeme could go up even much higher from 280 very, very soon, with the company also being a second most traded on stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange in the past 3 months. It means a lot of interest has been built in the recent past. Wumeme has traded a total of about 26.1 million shares in the period of between October 11th to 11th of January, and these are valued at over 5.74 billion. To be very precise, they have the biggest turnover on the market. They have the greatest amount of money that has been transacted on the Uganda Securities Exchange, which is a quite big achievement for the company, despite the fact that it will be exiting Uganda. A volume high of over 6.79 million was achieved on the 24th of October, currently still their biggest volume in the last 3 months as well. Now, in summary, regarding the performance of the indexes, the all-share index lost a very huge value, like I mentioned at first, at over 273 points lost, down to 1,222 to 1,224.74 points. Now, this is currently representing a 1-week gain of 0.4% and a 4-week gain of over 1.72%, and an overall year-to-date gain of 1%. The USE local company index also decreased to 272.9 points, making a 1-week gain of over 0.09%. Currently, the market capitalization on the exchange is still above 20 trillion, about 21.1 trillion Ugandan shillings to be specific. That's the trading, my friend, from the Uganda Securities Exchange. We have to take a very short break and we return with the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Stay with us.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
Futinbuto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
Sebo oba nyabo olirandira odi oba oyina ekifo ekipangisibwa URA ekujjukiza okwewandiisa ofune ennamba ey'omusolo eyitibwa tax identification number abasinga gye mumanyi nga TIN. Ennamba eyo ejja kuyamba okwanjula n'okusasulirako omusolo. Tusima balandiroodi abaamala edda okwewandiisa n'okusasula omusolo gwabwe, era tukubiriza abo bonna abatannaba kwewandiisa bakozese akaseera kano beewandiise. Tukolere wamu okulaakulanya eggwanga lyaffe.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Smart 24, driving business.
Warm welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for watching Smart 24 TV, where we drive your business. My name is Anthony and I am your host. You're watching the number one program and the number one station in East Africa when it comes to business. And my name is Anthony and I am your host. Now let's get to Nairobi very quickly and get to have a look at the Nairobi Securities Exchange and how far the exchange has gone as per the trading yesterday. In aggregate, over 49 companies participated in the day's trading, ending the day with 45 gainers and about 19 losers on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The Standard Group led the gainers with a total of over 9.84% gain to 9.6 Kenyan shillings per share. Standard Group Limited is a Kenyan-based company. The company is engaged in the publishing of the Standard and the Saturday Standard, as well as the Sunday Standard papers. It's a media house dealing with the distribution of local and local newspapers and magazines, as well as periodicals and television broadcasting under the name Kenya Television Company or Kenya Television Network, or KTN. Now, the company's subsidiaries include the Standard Limited, Baraza Limited, Agency Sales and Promotion Limited, as well as KTN. Standard Group is listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange with a total value of over 785 million Kenyan shillings, and these lead to a value of over 0.04% of the entire equities market on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Currently, the company is the 46th most valuable on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, with a total of the 785 million Kenyan shillings. Now, Standard Group Holdings or Limited went up yesterday by 0.86 Kenyan shillings in price to a total of 9.6 Kenyan shillings. A 9.84% increase that was registered on the market. The day's price from 9.6, had a total trading of over 300 shares, and this was in two deals, and closing the day with over 2,880 Kenyan shillings in turnover. Currently, the company has 81.7 million shares outstanding. Now, following this gain of 9.8%, the company improved its performance because in the last few days and weeks and months, the company registered very, very poor performance. It began the year with 10.45 Kenyan shillings and has since then lost over 8.13% on their year-to-date, which is the 58th on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. That is the year-to-date performance. Quite poor performance there from the company. Standard Group currently is the 50th most traded on stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange over the past 3 months, from the 7th of October to the 11th of January 2023. And under this, between this, in this period, the company has traded over 44,800 shares in 97 deals. And an average of about 711 traded shares was achieved during this period. Currently, the company is not that competitive compared to other stocks on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Now, Liberty Kenya Holdings came in the second place amongst the gainers with a gain of over 0.45 Kenyan shillings up to 5.04 Kenyan shillings on the 9.8% gain. The company is currently engaged in life and property as well as casualty insurance coverage. Kenya Liberty Holdings has a total of about 2.7 billion Kenyan shillings worth of market capitalization, currently making it the 32nd most valuable stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. and with about 0.139% of the entire Nairobi Securities Exchange equities market. When you look at the current number of deals, they have had about 5.04. They've had about 5.04 days low price, and 200 shares that were recorded in 2 deals, ending the day with over 1,008 Kenyan shillings worth of turnover that was actually registered on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. In terms of 1 week performance, the company has gained over 9.8%, and in 4 weeks about 3.49%. And currently in the year-to-date performance, the company shared of 10%, unfortunately, and this makes it the 60th on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in terms of year-to-date performance. Liberty Kenya Holdings is the 37th most traded on stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange over the past 3 months, from the 7th of October to the 11th of January. Samia Africa also led up at about 8.18% gain on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and EGADS at about 7.58%. That was also gained on the company's stock at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. On the losing side, unfortunately, TPS Africa Serena also continued to lose on their second day consecutively, with over 7.69% loss to 12.0 Kenyan shillings per share. Total Kenya followed suit with over 4.38% loss, and Uchumi Supermarket at 4.35% loss, and Home Africa at over 3.03% loss on the market. Safaricom recorded the biggest volume of close to 689,700 shares. That was followed by I&M Holdings at over 500,000 shares on the market. Equity Group Holdings at 531,000 shares as well on the market. Regarding the performance of the NSE All Share Index, it shed off over 0.49 points, and this was to close at 125.05 points, and representing currently a 1 week loss of about 1.9%. Now, trading also from the NSE 20 and the NSE 25. These are indices that track the top 20 and the top 25 companies respectively on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The NSE 20 gained a value of over 0.16%, and the NSE 25 lost about 0.04% of their value on the exchange. And that was the trading that the Nairobi Securities Exchange had on their third day. Remember, Nairobi is trying to get into the integrated East African capital markets, and their chief executive, Mr. Mudundo, said they are rethinking the fact that they need to enroll for the East African capital markets, stock exchange, where we can have all the capital markets in East Africa at a one-stop center where you can buy any securities across East Africa from this single point. So that's a thought, of course, to see that they kind of get to grow in terms of margin, get to see more companies list, get to involve themselves more in the trading, and get to involve also the local investors in the region. Away from the Nairobi Securities Exchange, the Nigeria Stock Exchange as well here had some bit of trading, and according to the Nigerian Stock Exchange data, only 110 companies out of the 157 listings participated in the day's trading, and the day ended with 26 gainers and 12 losers on the market. Thomas Wyatt Nigeria led the gainers with the 9.48% share price appreciation, closing at 1.27 Nigerian Naira per share, followed by Champion Breweries at 9.45% gain, and FTN Cocoa Processors at over 7.69%. The mutual benefits assurance also gained 6.67%. And on the losing side, Chelarams came out last with an end of day price depreciation of 9.89% at exactly 1.64 Nigerian naira per share closing the day, followed by Royal Exchange at 7.41% loss and Wapik Insurance at over 6.67% loss on the market. Mansard Insurance lost also about 6.54%. Regarding the NSE, Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index, it moved upwards over 283 points on the exchange, representing a one-week gain of 0.14%. And then when you look at the Ghana Stock Exchange, Ghana Stock Exchange actually did lose over about 3 points on their consumer index, the Ghana Stock Exchange Consumer Index, which is also the benchmark there in Ghana, down to 2,438 points. Johannesburg as well gained over 704.23 points on their all-share index, up to 78,704 points. That's the trading, my friend, from the African continent. Allow me to cross over to the Yahoo Finance, of course, getting to look into the stocks at the United States and getting to see what happened to the biggest boys there, like the indexes of the S&P and the Nasdaq. Now, of course, we have seen the stock markets fall a little bit and rise in the morning on the United States stock exchanges, with the Nasdaq shedding off some good amount of value as well on the United States stock exchange there in the US. The US stocks ascended a little bit at Wednesday open as Wall Street counted down to a crucial inflation reading and the big bank earnings later this week. The S&P 500 rose by 0.5%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 130 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq advanced roughly by 0.4%. That's, my friend, what we had for you today. Remember to check out our website at www.smart24tv.com. Also, remember to check out Altex East Africa, your #1 private stock exchange. They get you bonds across East Africa at the best interest rates in the land. My name is Anthony Sebale. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.